I found out my house was being sold from a stranger's text message, which was strange, considering I was supposed to be unconscious. The doctors called it a medically induced coma. My mother called it a fragile condition. The real estate agent called it a motivated seller. There were 72 hours left before closing. And I woke up 3 days too early. I don't remember the accident. They told me it was late. Rain slicked the highway. A delivery truck lost control on I-93. My car spun twice before the impact. The last thing I remember is headlights, then silence. 3 weeks of nothing. 3 weeks where decisions were made without me. When I opened my eyes, everything was white. The ceiling, the lights, the thin hospital blanket pulled over my body. The machines beeped in steady rhythm beside me, and sitting next to my bed was my mother. Karen Mitchell, perfectly composed, her hair styled, her posture straight, her expression soft. "Oh, sweetheart," she whispered, squeezing my hand. "You scared us." Her fingers were cold. I thought it was the air conditioning. I was wrong. I couldn't speak much the first 2 days. My throat burned from the ventilator. My head felt like it was packed with cotton. Mom barely left the room. If someone called, she stepped into the hallway and lowered her voice. "She can't handle stress," she kept telling people. At the time, it sounded protective. Now I understand it was strategic. On the 3rd day, a nurse brought me my phone. "Your mom kept it safe for you," she said. Of course she did. The battery was dead. Mom plugged it in herself and watched the screen light up. Not with relief, with calculation. Messages flooded in. Friends, coworkers, neighbors, and then one from a number I didn't recognize. "Hi, this is Daniel Harper. I'm scheduled to close on your property Friday at 2 p.m. Just confirming everything is still on track." My property. I stared at the words. Then I typed back. "I think you have the wrong number." The reply came immediately. "This is the number listed in the purchase agreement. Your mother said you weren't available, but everything was legally authorized." My heart monitor began to beep faster. Across the room, my mother was speaking calmly with my doctor. She looked completely in control. I texted again. "Please send me the contract." 30 seconds later, a PDF appeared. I opened it. Seller, Emily Claire Mitchell. That's me. Signature, Emily Claire Mitchell. That wasn't me. The sale price was nearly 20% below market value. Earnest money deposit. Received. Closing date. Friday. 72 hours. While I was unconscious, someone had agreed to sell my house, and that someone was supposedly me. The house on Maple Ridge Drive wasn't inherited. It wasn't gifted. I bought it myself at 27. I worked 2 jobs for 3 years to save the down payment. I painted every wall. I refinished the hardwood floors. I planted the oak tree in the front yard the week I moved in. It was the first thing in my life that belonged entirely to me, and it was being sold while I lay in a hospital bed. That night, I didn't confront her. I watched her instead. She brought me soup, adjusted my pillows, asked gentle questions. But I was seeing something new now. Efficiency, not love. The next morning, I asked the nurse to give us privacy. "Mom," I said quietly, holding up my phone. "What is this?" She didn't look surprised. "It's temporary," she said. "You can't manage a house right now. The medical bills alone are overwhelming. You're selling it. I'm protecting you. By signing my name?" Her jaw tightened. "You were declared temporarily incapacitated." The word echoed in my head. Incapacitated. "You were in a coma, Emily. The doctors agreed you couldn't make decisions." I stepped in. "You stepped in and listed my house? You don't need that much space." "It's too expensive." "It's impractical." "It's mine." She exhaled sharply. "You nearly died, but I didn't." Silence. "You've always made impulsive choices," she said softly. "This is me fixing one." After she left the room, I requested copies of every document signed during my hospitalization. The nurse hesitated. "Usually family handles that." "I am family," I said. The list was longer than I expected. Temporary power of attorney, bank access authorization, property valuation request, listing agreement. My mother hadn't panicked. She had prepared. I called Daniel Harper. He sounded uneasy. "Your mother provided notarized documentation," he said. "The power of attorney is valid. Send it to me." The document arrived within minutes. Signed 4 days after my accident. Approved by my attending physician. It stated that I was unable to manage financial decisions, which meant legally, she could. There were 72 hours until closing, and my mother had full authority. But something inside me had shifted. The fog was gone. The fear was gone. What remained was clarity. If she wanted this to become a legal matter, she had underestimated the wrong daughter. I made one call. Not to the police. Not yet. I called Rachel Collins, real estate attorney, and the only person who had ever seen my mother smile while taking control of a room. "Rachel," I said quietly, "how fast can you stop a closing?" There was a pause. "How bad is it?" Power of attorney. Below market sale. I was in a coma. Another pause. How many hours? 72. Her voice sharpened. Okay. Then listen carefully. We're going to war. There were 72 hours left. And for the first time since the accident, I wasn't the one unconscious. Rachel arrived at the hospital within 2 hours. She walked in like she was entering a courtroom instead of a recovery wing. Sharp blazer, hair pulled back, eyes already scanning for weak points. Tell me everything, she said, dropping her bag onto the chair. I handed her my phone. She read the contract in silence. Her expression didn't change, but I saw the shift in her eyes. This was fast, she said. Listed 9 days ago. Under contract the same day, she added. Inspection waived. Cash buyer. That's bad. That's not organic. She requested copies of the power of attorney and the medical declaration. When she finished reading, she looked up at me. This is temporary medical authority, not durable. That means it can be challenged the moment you're deemed competent. I'm competent. I know. We just need it documented. Rachel stepped into the hallway and made 3 calls. The first was to the title company. This is Rachel Collins, attorney for Emily Mitchell, sole titled owner of 1487 Maple Ridge Drive. My client disputes the authority under which this transaction was initiated. Effective immediately, any closing activity must be suspended pending review. She paused. Yes, today. When she hung up, she looked at me. Closing is frozen. Air returned to my lungs. But we both knew that wasn't the end. The second call was to the hospital's legal department. That one took longer. When she came back in, her tone had changed. Your mother pushed for expedited guardianship review, she said. Guardianship? Yes. She claimed you had a pattern of unstable financial behavior. I almost laughed. I own 1 house. I have no debt. I've never missed a payment. She also submitted a written statement. What kind of statement? Rachel hesitated for half a second. She claimed you had recently been emotionally volatile. That you made erratic decisions. My chest tightened. 3 weeks before the accident, my mother and I had argued. She had shown up at my house unannounced. Again, I told her I was changing the locks. I told her she needed to call before visiting. I told her I wasn't a child. She called it disrespect. She's building a narrative, Rachel said quietly. Of what? That you're not stable enough to manage major assets. The house was never just a house. It was independence. It was proof. And she was trying to erase it. The third call Rachel made was to Daniel Harper. She put him on speaker. Mr. Harper, she began evenly, you are currently under contract to purchase property from a seller who was medically unconscious at the time of agreement. Silence. I was told she had authorized representation, he said carefully. You were told by the acting power of attorney, who is now under dispute. More silence. You may want to consult your own counsel, Rachel added. His voice dropped. I'll speak with my father. That caught my attention. Your father? He owns the brokerage. Rachel and I exchanged a look. Convenient. After she hung up, Rachel pulled up the listing history. Harper and Dale Realty. Listed at 9:02 a.m. Under contract at 4:47 p.m. Same day. That's not a market response, she said. That's prearranged. Then she opened my bank records. My stomach dropped before she said anything. There's a transfer, she said. How much? $18,000. For what? Labeled as medical coordination services. That's not real. No, she said calmly. It isn't. The transfer was initiated 2 days after the earnest money deposit cleared. So she had access to everything, I whispered. Rachel nodded. And the earnest money? She turned the screen toward me. $42,000. Deposited into an escrow account, then transferred 24 hours later to a private account. Under Karen Mitchell. My mother hadn't just listed my house. She had rerouted the deposit. The room felt smaller. The beeping of the heart monitor felt louder. Is that illegal? I asked. Rachel met my eyes. If proven intentional? Yes. How bad? Felony level bad. That afternoon, Dr. Wallace Green came to reevaluate me. He asked orientation questions. Name. Date. Location. I answered clearly. Then he studied me. You seem fully coherent, he said. I've been coherent since I woke up. He adjusted his glasses. Your mother was very insistent. About what? That you were unstable prior to the accident. I wasn't. She mentioned large financial risks. My mortgage is standard. My income is stable. He nodded slowly. And she requested expedited guardianship authority. The word echoed again. Guardianship. Control. If I reassess and document full cognitive recovery, he said carefully, the temporary authority dissolves immediately. How soon? Today. Rachel filed the emergency petition within the hour. The hospital submitted updated medical documentation. The title company confirmed the closing could not proceed without my direct, written authorization. For the first time, my mother's plan had stalled. But she wasn't done. That evening, she filed her own motion to extend guardianship, claiming that my aggressive legal behavior was evidence of emotional instability following trauma. Rachel read the filing out loud. She's arguing that your resistance proves her concern. She's using my defense as evidence. Yes. The next morning, the court scheduled an emergency hearing. 48 hours before closing, everything would now become public record. Bank transfers, medical affidavits, property valuations, guardianship requests, all of it. When my mother came into my hospital room that night, she looked composed, almost serene. "There's been some confusion," she said gently. "I'm aware. You shouldn't be putting yourself through this stress." "I'm not stressed." I held her gaze. "I'm informed." Her eyes hardened for just a moment. "You don't understand the consequences." "No," I said quietly. "I think you don't." The next 48 hours would determine more than the fate of a house. They would determine who controlled my life. And for the first time, this wasn't happening behind closed doors. It was moving into a courtroom, under oath, in front of strangers. And once it did, there would be no taking it back. The morning of the hearing, I was discharged from the hospital. Against my mother's advice. "Your body isn't ready," she said. "My body doesn't need to testify," I replied. "I do." Rachel picked me up herself. The courthouse downtown looked colder than I remembered. Gray stone, tall steps, too public. Which was the point? Emergency guardianship hearings aren't dramatic in theory. They're procedural, paperwork, medical opinions, financial review. But when family is involved, theory collapses quickly. My mother was already there when we walked in. Perfect suit, neutral expression, as if this were a charity board meeting instead of a legal fight over my autonomy. She didn't hug me. She didn't ask how I was feeling. She nodded. That was all. The courtroom was small. No jury. Just a judge, a clerk, 2 attorneys, and us. But it felt enormous. Because every word spoken inside it would become record. Rachel went first. She submitted updated medical evaluations, full cognitive restoration, no neurological deficits, no impairment. Then she submitted bank records, transfer histories, the earnest money reroute, the $18,000 withdrawal labeled medical coordination. The judge leaned forward slightly. "Mrs. Mitchell," he said to my mother, "can you explain this transfer?" My mother didn't hesitate. "I was covering projected expenses," she said calmly. "My daughter's condition was uncertain. Why was the earnest money redirected from escrow?" "It was a holding adjustment. That is not standard procedure," the judge said. Her attorney shifted in his seat. Then Rachel presented the valuation report. Independent appraisal conducted the day before the hearing. The house was worth significantly more than the contracted sale price. "Mrs. Mitchell," the judge asked again, "why was the property listed nearly 20% below market value?" "It was a quick sale decision," she answered smoothly. "Given her instability, liquidity was safer." There it was again. Instability. Rachel stood. "Your Honor, may I?" The judge nodded. Rachel walked slowly toward the bench. "Mrs. Mitchell submitted a written claim that my client demonstrated erratic financial behavior prior to the accident. We have obtained her daughter's financial records." She handed copies to the clerk. "No missed payments, no excessive debt, no high-risk investments, no pattern of instability." Silence settled across the room. Rachel continued. "What we do have is a transfer of $42,000 into an account under Mrs. Mitchell's sole control." My mother's composure flickered, just slightly. Then the judge turned to me. "Ms. Mitchell, do you understand the proceedings today?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Do you understand the nature of your assets and financial obligations?" "Yes." "Do you wish to retain control of your property and finances?" "Yes." My voice did not shake. The judge reviewed the updated medical affidavit. Then he looked at my mother. "Temporary authority is granted to protect individuals who cannot protect themselves," he said evenly. "It is not intended as a vehicle for asset liquidation, absent necessity." He paused. "Guardianship extension denied." The words landed like a gavel strike. Temporary power of attorney is dissolved effective immediately. Just like that. She no longer had control. But it didn't end there. Rachel requested permission to address the escrow irregularities. The judge allowed it. "Your Honor," Rachel said, "there is evidence suggesting misappropriation of funds during the period of temporary authority." The word misappropriation echoed. My mother's attorney objected. The judge overruled. Bank statements were entered into record. Dates aligned. Deposit, transfer, personal account. My mother's signature. For the first time, her posture shifted. It wasn't panic. It was calculation. She realized something. This wasn't just a family dispute anymore. It was exposure. Daniel Harper and his father were seated in the back of the courtroom. When the escrow transfers were mentioned, his father leaned forward sharply. He hadn't known. Or at least, he hadn't known everything. The judge ordered a preliminary financial review. and referred the escrow irregularities to the district attorney's office for assessment. Not a conviction. Not yet, but enough to trigger investigation. Enough to make it public. When the hearing adjourned, reporters weren't waiting. This wasn't that kind of case. But the records would be accessible. Financial mismanagement. Guardianship challenge. Escrow dispute. Anyone searching either of our names would find it. My mother understood that. Reputation mattered to her more than money. And now both were in question. Outside the courthouse, she approached me. For the first time since this started, her voice dropped the polished tone. "You've humiliated me," she said quietly. "I protected myself. You've destroyed your own mother. You tried to sell my house while I was unconscious. I was trying to protect you from yourself." "No," I said. "You were trying to control me." Her eyes flashed. "You have no idea what I've sacrificed for you. And you have no idea what I built without you." Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Final. Rachel touched my arm gently. "It's done," she said. But it wasn't. Not entirely. Because that evening, as I sat in my living room, something didn't sit right. The money transfer wasn't desperation. It was urgency. And urgency usually means pressure. My mother hadn't needed control. She had needed cash. Fast. Which meant there was something else. Something we hadn't uncovered yet. 2 days later, Rachel called. Her tone was different. "Quieter, Emily," she said. "I think I know why she did it. There was a civil lawsuit filed 3 weeks before your accident. Against Karen Mitchell. For breach of contract. Amount claimed? $78,000. Due within 30 days. Or subject to asset seizure." The timeline aligned too perfectly. Lawsuit filed. Accident happens. Power of attorney obtained. House listed below market for fast sale. Earnest money rerouted. She hadn't been protecting me. She had been protecting herself. Using my coma as leverage? When I realized that, something inside me didn't break. It settled. Because the truth was worse than control. It was opportunism. The district attorney's office contacted Rachel the following week. They requested documentation, transaction trails, medical timeline, statements. My mother hired separate criminal counsel. The brokerage initiated internal review. Daniel Harper withdrew completely. The house was officially no longer for sale. The investigation lasted months. I moved back into my home fully. I replaced the locks. All of them. I installed security cameras. Not because I was afraid, but because I understood something now. Boundaries aren't emotional. They're structural. Eventually, the DA declined full prosecution due to lack of clear criminal intent, but restitution was ordered for the rerouted deposit. Civil penalties were imposed, and my mother's name appeared in a public disciplinary filing. Not prison, but permanent record. For someone like her, that was worse. We haven't spoken since, not because I hate her, but because I finally see her clearly. She doesn't believe she did anything wrong. She believes she acted efficiently, strategically, as she always has. The oak tree in my front yard survived the winter. It's taller now, stronger. Its roots deeper than I realized. Just like mine, I nearly died on that highway. But I woke up before my life was sold. And this house, my house, still stands. So do I.